It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
I just want you all to know I came back for Italy for this show. That's how committed I am to being on the radio with you Sunday morning. It's this next 60 minutes about talking cars, trucks, SUVs, in fact, anything with a throttle. It's the weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show, keeping you connected to the automotive world, locally created and nationally celebrated. On this week's show, what have we been parked and driving out of the Test Miles garage? Like the smell of rubber on a short track, well, Sparky will be here to explain what happens next weekend with some drifting. If you've misplaced your keys, you may want to find them. We have a little device that has been invented to help you find your keys. I'll tell you all about my trip to Italy to drive the new Aston Martin DB11, and we'll find out what Ryan has been testing. So first of all, Brad, what have you been driving this week?
I had an interesting week this week. I'm working as transportation supervisor on a film, and we needed to find a really cool, sexy car for the hero who turned out to be Bruce Dern. This movie's called V4, stars Billy Zane and Keith David. So we sourced out the Range Rover Evoque because it looked great, had a cool image, and was perfect for this. However, one of the features of this car, while the sloping back in and makes it look all great, it's tiny inside because it is a compact SUV.
Two-door or four-door?
This is the four-door. Well, five-door technically, but
Five-door. Yeah, I see the two-door really is tiny inside.
And so fortunately, we had three tiny little actresses who had to hop in the back seat in one seat. So, but it's small inside. So everything that makes it cool looking also contributed to making it a little small inside with the sloping back end. But I got to drive as a second unit driver last night in the middle of the night as they filmed all throughout town. So we didn't want Bruce driving 100 miles an hour and doing all that. So it really is a fun car to drive. One thing I noticed is the 0 to 20 speed or something like that felt like an old Saab turbo almost at the low end when it stomped on it.
Like a 20s Saab turbo?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But it was like very little power on the front end on that 0. But once it got up and had some torque, that 9-speed automatic transmission kicked in, and it was fun to thrash around in Portland and sliding turns and all sorts of good stuff. And then I get to ship it back to Range Rover, so that's good.
Now, after you told them you thrashed it.
Yeah, that's okay. This wasn't technically a press car. It was a movie car, so it's okay. I think they're used to it. But the price on this Evoque is $42,000 on the low end, up to about $61,000 for a way over the top. Great one.
I had a lot of people I've recommended that car to. I think it looks great. It was a great idea, but the only downside is the visuals out the back, backing it up.
Really hard to see. I committed completely to the camera.
Right.
You know, the in-camera, but
exactly what it tells you not to do.
Yeah, sorry. So its competitors, I guess this size would be more like the X3, but is the Discovery Sport its own competition?
Yeah. I bet the Discovery Sport is the non-luxury version that you can see out the back of.
So, but I mean, overall, it obviously it has the Range Rover off-road capability and all that stuff, but great, fun to drive, really nice. I mean, if you are just two people, I would think, if you're not having to haul many people around. If you're just two people, I am two people.
You're talking about people with split
being two people myself,
people who could lose a little weight. If you are just two people,
I am two people.
Which one am I talking to right now? Brad 1 or Brad 2?
It was designed for women. The smaller SUV.
I thought Sean liked it. He did say that.
Yeah.
But, I'd give it a solid 8, 7, 8. For what it is.
A solid 7-8.
7 or 8.
That's usually a solid is a 1 number.
Yeah, that's actually point. Yeah, I'll give it a solid 7.5.
All right, there you go. All right, so you'd buy it?
No, I would buy the Discovery. I don't need as much luxury inside, and I'd like to see outside a little bit
features.
Better. Yeah, I don't need to be cute.
I actually might agree with you.
First time for everything. Outstanding.
Yeah, no, I think I might agree with you if I didn't have any friends. But, and I didn't want them to see me in a cool car. But if I want to see my...
But it made a great hero car, so that was nice.
There you go. What color was it, by the way?
Kind of that light green color.
Okay.
And we did some shots in front of the Range Rover dealer, too, so we'll sell them to Range Rover.
My downside to those cars is they always come in fairly muted colors. I like them a little bit more exciting.
This wasn't exciting, but it's going to come out in a convertible. So,
what exciting car were you driving this week, Sean?
Not a hero car, but a truck. I had the Toyota
hero truck.
It could be a hero truck.
All right.
It's pretty heroic to me. I had the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, and the TRDs basically get an off-road package, more aggressive look, 18-inch black alloyed wheels, skid pad, and a cool TRD exhaust, which is the best feature of this truck because the exhaust is beefy, and you waste a lot of gas just hearing the truck and the exhaust. I was a big fan of the exhaust.
Here's the whole deal with trucks. America has ruled the world with full-size trucks, half-ton trucks. Ford number 1, Chevy number 2, Ram number 3. It's been like that for years. And now the Japanese are throwing everything they can at that truck market with Nissan and their Titan, with Toyota and their Tundra, with Honda and their Ridgeline. They are throwing everything they can at the truck market.
But one of the cool things when they designed this truck, they actually went to farmers and construction workers and asked them, what do you want in a truck? And a lot of them said, I want to be able to open a truck with gloves on. So they made everything inside bigger door handles, bigger knobs, bigger radio, everything. So you can change and be inside the truck with gloves on.
I hate to dash all your beautiful PR about this, but every single truck manufacturer does the same.
Yeah, but
Toyota tells us this all the time.
I believe that they actually did it.
Yeah, but the truth is you do. You go to most trucks and you can operate them with gloves on.
Well, but I feel like the Toyota is a little bit easier than some of the other truck manufacturers out there.
But not mittens. You can't operate them with. I've tried.
Well, that's because you got little fingers.
But mittens
I
don't have fingers.
Well,
they're just mittens.
Well, it depends on what kind of mittens.
I know. I'm
just trying to derail you.
I know. It has a beefy 5.7 liter V8 engine, 381 horsepower. Its competitors realistically are only the Ford Raptor and the Ram Rebel. I almost screwed up. I know.
Black edition, maybe the black edition Chevy Silverado.
Is that an off-road truck though?
Yeah.
I mean, but Chevy now has everything a black edition.
Right.
But
maybe
I just don't see that thing.
Truck.
I just don't see it as an off-road.
I think one of the things whether you put additions on trucks is the truth is you can go to the dealer and buy the parts to get it to do what you want it to do.
Well, but I'm talking
For every
factory.
truck.
You can do that to anything. I can go to anywhere and make my truck an off-road. I'm saying stock out of the factory. This is what it's designed.
Peter will tell you from Mobile West that you can pretty much do anything to a truck to make it the way you want it.
Some my favorite features too as well is the easy lift gate, because basically you can open and close this lift gate with one finger. It's super light, hydraulics basically on it to help. They have the kind of a tow rail system in the back where you can change whether your actual your tie downs are.
Tie down rails are, sliding tie downs.
Which helps if you're moving people or a bike, you can actually adjust where the force is and you need to tie stuff down instead of trying to angle everything. Starts at 42,000. You can get them up to 50. Toyota also has 6 different other trucks. If you don't want an off-road, you want more of a luxury truck.
All right. I mean, they are. Once you start to get into these high-end trucks, are expensive. All right, quickly, I'm going to tell you about the car I was driving this week. I actually went to Italy to drive the brand new Aston Martin DB11. This is the DB10 was the James Bond car for the movie. They only made 10 of them. They sold them for over $1 million each. The DB11 is kind of what came next. I can't even start to tell you what an amazing car this is. There's an embargo on the driving impression, so I can't tell you how it drives. What I can tell you is some of the technology on the inside of this car is absolutely unbelievable. First of all, they wanted to have downforce on the back of the car, but they didn't want a fin on the back of the car. They didn't want a spoiler on the back of the car. So what they did is they have at the back windows an aero intake, and the aero intake pushes the air out the back of the trunk, which creates its own downforce. So at the windows, the air is sucked in through the windows, goes through pipes in the car, and comes out the back of the trunk, which pushes the car down onto the back of the road at speed.
this isn't a driving impression, but it still stays quiet?
Yeah, there's no noise. You can't hear anything. It's absolutely unbelievable. I spent a good part of 2 days with some of the top race drivers, some of the top automotive journalists from around the world driving this car, and all of them were very concerned that their viewers and listeners would be thinking they would be paid off to say what they were saying about this car.
Well, you did say before the show started, it's the perfect car.
I mean, yeah, if you have $207,000 plus, it's the perfect car.
That'd be a perfect life, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be a perfect life. Hand stitched. They can look on the inside of this car, and the seamstresses, and I can say seamstresses because there's only women that do the stitching on the inside of this car, and they can tell you which woman sewed it just by looking at the stitching.
Their own style.
Each one has their own style. It's handpicked. 200 hours to make a single car. The engines are all hand built, and they gave me a little plaque. There's an engine plaque that says this engine was designed by so and so, and it's a single engine, single man, just like AMG. The plaque they gave me says this DB11 was test driven by Nick Miles, and that which goes on the inside of the car. I'll tell you more about the trip to Italy when we get into later in the show, but it was unbelievable, absolutely amazing. However, I slept, I think, for 18 hours yesterday because I was so exhausted. Coming up, we're going to talk to Sparky about some drifting that's going to happen in Washington State next week. We'll hear about the trip to Italy and also a way to make sure you never lose your car keys again. That's coming up on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.